I knew that just from the words you were saying and the way you were talking to me, I knew that you were at that point. Like, you knew something's got to happen, and you had a plan already. Like, you were going to see her in Tucson.
Thanks for calling. And it was really cool of you looking at it from your shoes, because I knew it was probably not likely that I was going to get a phone call from you. And then when it happened, I was like, maybe I'm not a bad person after all. You're calling me. It was extremely helpful to have someone who knew exactly what that was, understood the gravity of it.
Well, that's kind of why I started this whole page, was I felt so alone. You know, when I realized that my ex was exactly what you just said, malignant borderline. Not many people that understand that, really.
No, you can't understand it if you haven't been in it.
Right.
So you were right about the fear getting the better of me on the way there, big time, because it did. So I get in there, and like those nurses there were super nice and really were a big part of it being a good experience.
Did you find that people there were pretty well trauma informed and pretty supportive of you?
I had an awesome time there. When I'd want to isolate in my room by myself, which quickly went bad, I would just get out and go. So I found one of my friends and then be laughing about something. Yeah, me and them had real similar trauma histories.
Your dad's a narcissist, you said. What about your mom?
Oh yeah, malignant borderline concurrent with narcissism. She's got the dark triad of narcissism, paranoia, sadism, Machiavellianism. In the past, money was always what my mom would use as a reason to talk suicide or get suicidal.
Is money to control you in a way?
Shame, guilt, blame, standard when I came back from LA. Don't worry about money or work. Focus on your mental health. We got you. And then destabilize my mental health as badly as she could. It's textbook financial abuse.
Yeah.
I wanted to AMA a bunch of times. All my friends were, worried about me, like coming to find me, like, oh, these people are genuinely, because I thought like nobody, even like I know people care about me. When you're in that headspace, you think nobody cares about you. Really glad I did an AMA. All the laughing at Sierra Tucson, like I had so much fun. Apparently rehabs aren't that fun, I've been told from other people like who I was in there with who've gone on their own. Mm-hmm. But like I was having a ball, like the whole time.
Right, yeah.
Like it was a party.
I was there, I found it really peaceful. I mean, but granted, I was one of those people who was trying to hide away from the crazy guy at home, like you were describing.
Yeah.
A bunch of women there who were hiding. Yeah, that was me. What brought you to Sierra Tucson?
I needed a safe place to go, for one. I knew I needed a lot more trauma treatment, specifically than what I was getting. I knew I needed to go to some place that specialized in it and was like the leader of that type of treatment. And I didn't know it existed till I was digging through your old posts like a creep. Yeah, I found it and I was like, oh, this is an option.
I'm so proud that you didn't use your media time.
Well, I didn't do it because you were like, I wish I would have leaned into not using my media when I was in there. So like I avoided the media time completely.
Oh, that's so great. I mean, if you're going to go into a place like that, especially if you have abusive people on the outside that are upset that you're doing something for yourself, it's just protection. It's spending money and time. You were there for a month. And you want to make sure that the time you spend there it's for you. And you can't do that if you're worried about everyone outside. See, the reason I said the media thing was because I was that girl who went to Sierra Tucson to find a safe haven from the toxic mess that was happening at home.
Yeah, it's husband haven.
As you know, my husband was narcissistic and borderline personality. So like it was just nuts. It couldn't get me in for like a week. So I went to my friend's house and kind of hid out there for like a week until then my bed was ready. And then when I went in, I was weak. I was so weak. I was still in the middle of my journey and I still didn't realize I needed to leave, but I wasn't ready to. So,
Yeah.
so I let him in. I called him. I was like, this is where I am. And I felt safe enough to do that because I was like, I'm here. He can't hurt me here. Well, that's not true because he would call and verbally just harass and abuse me. He would email and verbally harass and abuse me. And I let it work. I replied. I was still chasing him, trying to explain my
Explain the
situation.
unexplainable.
Yeah, you can't explain
the
to
truth.
them.
Yeah.
What would you say a day at Sierra Tucson is like?
So you wake up and then you shuffle through the cold to the cafeteria and get coffee. And then like you see your friends there and it's like a general high. And then you go back to your lodge to shower and get dressed. And then it's like, who do I have class with?
You have a schedule every day, right? With places to be, classes to attend.
Yeah.
Therapists to see.
If someone's in a class that's on your schedule that looks like it would be good for you, you just go.
Yeah, yeah. And what kinds of therapies did you try while you were there?
It was the first time like therapists and providers, med providers or doctors or whatever, weren't looking at me like, is he really making this up? So I had a trauma therapist. I had Diane, my somatic therapist. The somatic stuff I did with Jim when I was there was really helpful. The equine, the biggest therapy was having a group of friends you could relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about it. Like when you're with, both your parents who are both narcissistic, you're in an environment where you're completely isolated with two very toxic people who are conditioning you to think and act a certain way. And then all of a sudden you're around people who are like you, and we're also in that situation. You start realizing like, okay, I'm not alone. Like these people, they react the same way I do, and I'm not crazy. This is what is normal for someone coming out of something like that. Yeah, that was pretty validating for me. I know when I was in there, I had him in my ear telling me I'm the crazy one, and then I went there and got really validating and helpful, at least for me.
Biggest thing I can take away from this is just knowing you have to go no contact is the first step. And then you have to bang your head against the wall a few more times and make sure that you know exactly what it is. And the biggest thing would be helping people to, once they realize it, to not continue to bang their head against the wall, because it's when you go no contact and get away that first 90 days, your life is in the greatest danger. It was awesome. Like a lot of laughing, a lot of fun. But like basically all the advice you gave me, I applied as thoroughly as I possibly could. Super grateful for your page, because I don't know where I'd be, but it wouldn't be in a good place.